This one is the first one, and it's called Diagnosis. And it's because it was startling to me when I got the diagnosis of having cancer. And it just seemed as though it was just an end to everything. I took quite a while to adjust to the fact that you can live with it. And so I did my feeling of feeling constrained. And so when you look closely at it, you can see, well, there's all kinds of different aspects to it. And there you go.
Seems very tight to the center.
What, honey?
Seems very tight to the center.
Oh, yeah.
All wrapped around close to the center there.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to the next one.
I deliberately chose dolls that I would find at garage sales. Nothing even as formal as the Goodwill, but just in the neighborhood stuff, because I wanted to show that the body goes through all kinds of changes, and I was going to paint on them and deal with them, but only to a certain extent. I didn't want to disguise the fact that it was a radical change. And this one here is the aspect where you have to present yourself a certain way, and that's where the head is separate from the body, because you have to have a social self that's apart from all the mess of your body. And that's because your feelings are so, there's so many feelings, there's so many aspects. And I just did as best I could. And I think I have the feet coming out of the box somewhere. But it's just, you know what it is. And it's called the social aspect.
Mm-hmm.
It's when I began to have breathing difficulties, and I think it was mainly psychological and physiological, that I didn't feel that I was getting my full breath. And finally, I had to go to get breathing, an oxygen tank, and I still attempted to do what I could in my life and keep working and everything. Maybe I shouldn't have, because it was scary to people when I dragged my little oxygen tank around the courthouse in Washington County.
What's that tube around? Is that your oxygen tube?
Yeah, I just put some of the oxygen tubes around, so it was indicating that she needed to get supplementary oxygen. But I still don't know everything about it. But I did know that it was a strange thing to have. And it really terrified me about going out in the water with George, because if I fell in, I felt as though I would just die a drowning death. And when we were down in Mexico, I couldn't go into the cenotes because I couldn't breathe and I couldn't keep myself afloat. I didn't have enough air in my lungs to float. I had fluid at the bottom and different things at the top. And I'll not go into it. This is called Of Two Minds, where you're divided in a lot of different ways, but you don't know at the time. It later comes to you. And I must have been aware of the fact that there were bifurcations in my life at all times, and I could either give in to them or not, but it didn't really ultimately matter, because we have to live the life of the body, and the life of the mind is kind of wrapped around and more flexible, but the body is kind of so subject to material law that it's surprising. And so there are of two minds. Little breath is when you have to take that little last puff of air in to make you feel complete, and I was searching for that a lot of the time, and yet it has to happen of itself when you just can relax enough. Nowadays I can use some of the poppy pod tea to help myself relax, and I don't get bound up or hurt by it.
Are you primarily relying upon poppy pod for leveling things out?
Some of that, or there's some cannabis and coconut oil, and if I take a piece the size of a large pea, that settles me down for quite a while.
Nice.
But they say I can use the morphine, but I would rather not, because I really don't like the constipation feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm doing all right, and I can feel pretty stoned in my body and lesser stoned in my head, so I can still think.
Nice.
This is the Hanged Woman. It has reference to Odin's search for wisdom when he went to the Fates and hung from the tree of life. And I think he actually lent his eyes to the Fates too. And to me, there's a certain sacrificial aspect to being carried into a diagnosis and a disease, and perhaps it has something that will teach us. I have no idea. I haven't found anything except just endurance from it so far. I haven't found any particularly enlightening thing, but I'm sure people who are more esoteric minded have. To me, it's just I know there's an aspect. I may not find it all in my mind and in my feelings, but I can feel that there's quite a lot of giving yourself to the process. But I don't know much beyond that, and maybe people who have to endure chronic illnesses would have a better idea than I do. because I don't. I just am experiencing it now.
The other day you mentioned that you were having like little flashes kind of in the background of how things work.
Yeah. I can feel some of that.
Mm-hmm.
I can feel. I can nestle in at times to the big pregnant nothingness that's around. I can just dissolve into it, and I don't feel bad at all. I just feel waiting, just waiting. And it's waiting with no waiting time. It's just weird. It's just weird. I wish it wasn't this way, but I don't think I have any choice. I just have to live what's been handed to me. This is the river, or between lives, and that's why I have a lot of reflection to it, because it's the way it is. Between lives, it's everything real and unreal, and imagined and unimagined, reflected back to you. And she was the most beat up of all the dollies, and so I had to put more shells and stuff on her. But she's there, and she's like a indication for me to just keep going and dissolve into the situation and just let it move me. So I'm letting it move me.
This is quite a creative grouping.
It's just something that happened because I was feeling so emotional, and it's a way for me to deal with things that would be leaky and corrosive to other people. I just can't do anymore.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Can you take them all away,
I'll do it right now.
if you don't mind?
I'm happy to.
Have you got enough stuff in the car to wrap them up and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that would be great.
Okay. Thank you, Susie.
Okay. Thanks. You've been a good friend.